What's going on? Thanks for reading this week's blog, tuning in to find a little bit more about what our recommendations are for making our bodies stronger moving forward. All right. We've been talking a lot about this COVID issue, and you guys know by now, if you've been reading or following our posts, we're kind of sick and tired of playing defense. We're absolutely done with it, right? We've been bogged down, we've been cooped up, for far too long. We've been making changes to kind of protect ourselves, and that's good. That's what we need now. We want to prepare ourselves to come out of this thing better, right? So we want to talk a little bit more about how we can play offense, right? How do we beat these things moving forward? It's no surprise that these, cardiorespiratory diseases attack your cardiorespiratory system, right? So it's not a surprise. These things have been around for a while. These are not new diseases. So, we also know a lot about how much money that our country spends on healthcare, specifically with heart, respiratory issues. Smoking is a big topic in this country, as is weight, diabetes, staying healthy, going to the gym, staying fit. So that's what we want to talk about, right? We want to bulletproof that cardiorespiratory system to make it that much better for ourselves in the future, so that if you do come in contact with something like this, it's not going to have as drastic effect on your body. If you take two people, one of them who has, we already know, right? People with underlying conditions that affect your cardiorespiratory system were some of the most at risk for this disease, for the COVID coronavirus. So we want to take our entire population and make us that much stronger when it comes to the areas that these diseases will affect and these diseases will target. Right? So like I wrote in the blog, I want to stop saying cardiorespiratory system. It was a lot to type over and over again, and it's kind of a tongue twister to say. You can see me tripping up on it right now. So what are our recommendations for bulletproofing ourselves and making your heart and lungs stronger? Well, first is understanding what that system is and what it does. You breathe in, your lungs take oxygen in from the ambient air around us, and it takes that oxygen and then pushes it into the bloodstream for the blood to be carried to the rest of the body from your heart pumping, right? So your heart pumps to squeeze the blood through the rest of your body, while your lungs take the oxygen that we breathe in and push it into the blood vessels. And that's how it works. We want that system to be strong. So we're going to talk a little bit more about fitness trackers and how they can help us moving forward, and specifically some variables that we like to track using our own fitness watches or fitness trackers. So I have my Garmin Fenix on right now. It does heart rate, it does pulse oximetry, it tells me my stress, it tells me heart rate variability, all these things, resting heart rate, max heart rate. So what do all these things mean? We spend so much time on these guys and they look cool and it's fun to have the new trendy stuff, but let's help you maximize their usage. Let's get the full functionality out of them and help you understand it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the variables that we're going to focus on, and then Justin, Ashley, and I are going to get a little bit more in depth with each of them in the coming weeks. So first and foremost, heart rate. What is your heart rate? Well, your heart rate is how many times your heart beats in a 60-second period. We measure it in beats per minute, okay? Pretty straightforward. And an average, just right now, what is my heart rate? If I'm running, what is my heart rate? If I'm sleeping, what is my heart rate, okay? So that's just what your heart rate is. Now we have, I didn't talk about this, but max heart rate is basically the max amount of beats per minute that your heart will pump, and we do this during very intense exercise. Very few of us get there. So I didn't really talk about it that much, but what is more important is your resting heart rate. So at complete rest, how many beats per minute does it take to actually sustain basic functionality to live, right? It's kind of like your daily caloric intake, the minimum amount of calories needed to keep your body alive. Well, resting heart rate is very similar. How many beats per minute does it take to keep your body alive and keep oxygen and blood flowing through your body while doing nothing, okay? Most people think that resting heart rate is what happens when you're sitting at your desk or watching TV or anything like that. It's true that your heart rate will be lower during those times, but your true resting heart rate comes while you're sleeping. Okay, so I love looking at my data, Garmin Connect on my phone, and I can take a look at what my heart rate has been like for the past day, 2 days, 3 days, 2 hours, right? So it's fun to look at when I wake up, and I'll see that my true resting heart rate while I'm sleeping is down in the low 50s. But right now, during the day while I'm awake, the lowest it'll get is probably around 61, 62, something like that. So true resting heart rate comes when you're sleeping. So it's really good to have something that can track that. Heart rate recovery. This is also a very important metric that tells us how efficient your body is being, okay? Heart rate recovery is basically how quickly your heart rate will come down after you stop intense exercise. So this can be, if you're going for a run and then you stop, how quickly does your heart rate come down and recover to a certain percentage of your regular heart rate? Same thing if you're doing intense workouts in the gym, in between sets, how quickly does your heart rate come down after you stop working for that short period of time or completely? A quicker heart rate recovery is actually a good thing. It shows that your heart is much more efficient. Your whole body, your neurologic system is that much more efficient at letting your heart rate come down so you're not in a stressed state any longer than possible. So heart rate recovery is going to be looking at how quickly your heart rate comes down. Then we're getting into something that not a lot of people talk about, but is a phenomenal tool. It's called heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is actually the difference in time between individual heartbeats. So let's just say that you have a 60 beat per minute resting heart rate, okay? Just easy numbers. That's 1 beat per second. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 1 beat per second, even though that's what the average is. We're talking about milliseconds, but there are variances in between each heartbeat as far as time goes. So it's not going to be completely symmetrical. You're not going to have 1 beat every single second, okay? So heart rate variability is a good thing. It's an indicator of good overall cardiorespiratory health. So heart rate variability, again, looks at the difference in time between each individual beat. The higher the variability, the better it is, okay? It also is a measure of how efficient your neurologic system is with keeping your heart beating. That's why if you've ever taken your own pulse, and I implore you guys to try that now while you're sitting down, find a pulse, either your carotid pulse or your radial pulse, right here by your thumb. 2 fingers, light pressure, don't press down and occlude it. But if you keep your finger there for about a minute, you'll find that it seems like you have a pattern, but then every once in a while you'd be like, oh, I didn't feel it there, or 2 of them were a little closer together, or 2 of them were a little farther apart. That's heart rate variability. So again, it's a very good thing, and heart rate variability very much ties into how stressed you are in your body. And your stress can come from anything, whether it's physical stress and you're tired, you're fatigued, your legs are sore after leg day, or whether you're stressed out emotionally from your personal life or from work, poor sleep, poor diet, things like that. Anything can stress us out. And all these variables give us an idea of how well your body's responding to that stress, and then will tell us, well, what is your risk of actually getting sick or sustaining an injury, things like that. That's what we care about. But again, they also give us a great indication of how strong your overall cardiorespiratory system is. So those are the cardiac variables. Now I want to talk about the respiratory variables. Respiratory rate, much like your heart rate, is how many breaths you take per minute. That's just it. How many times a minute your lungs fill up with air. As you exercise, respiratory rate goes up to increase the oxygen intake because the oxygen demand for your body is going up. Same thing, we want to see that recover quickly as well. Last thing is pulse oximetry. Pulse oximetry, and some of the latest fitness trackers actually have a pulse oximeter in them, which is awesome. Pulse oximetry is basically the oxygen saturation in your blood. So basically, what is the percentage of blood in your oxygen? What is the percentage of oxygen in your bloodstream? Okay, so it gives us an idea of how efficient your lungs are at perfusing that oxygen and getting it into your bloodstream to supply the rest of your body. Normal pulse oximetry and O2 saturation rates are anywhere from 95 to 100%. And again, that should remain constant whether you're exercising or not. So again, it's just how efficient is your body at getting oxygen into your blood. So all these things, heart rate, resting heart rate variability, heart rate recovery, respiratory rate, pulse oximetry, or oxygen saturation, these are all really important things that we're going to talk about in the next few weeks to help you guys understand them. And the more we can do to improve your body's system, the stronger we are moving forward, the stronger we are combating any diseases that might come our way. We'll keep less people out of the ERs. We'll keep less people from getting severe symptoms. We may not be able to prevent everything, but if I had a choice, I'd much rather have mild symptoms than severe symptoms. So anything we can do to make ourselves healthier in the future, that's what the goal is. So again, we're done playing defense and we're ready to play offense. Thanks for listening, guys. I know it was a little bit of a long video, but some interesting stuff coming up, but it's really fun. So stay tuned and we'll talk to you soon.